From the silver screen to indie filmmaker sets across North America, Lowel Lighting was a staple in the world of cinema. For decades, beginning in the 1950s, the name Lowell was synonymous with reliability, portability, and innovation in lighting design. Seriously, if you visited a film set or even a photo shoot in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe even the 90s, you would probably see Lowell lights in action. But how did this brand, which was founded off the back of one career filmmaker's annoyance with lighting products of his time, rise to such prominence and then seemingly disappear in the modern age? Join us in this video as we explore the fascinating life and legacy of Lowell Lighting, from its founder to the company's legendary status in the film industry and its eventual decline at the hands of some familiar faces. Our story begins in the 1950s with a man named Ross Lowell. A gaffer and cinematographer by trade, Lowell was frustrated by the heavy, unwieldy lighting equipment of his day. You know, back when lighting equipment for a movie looked like this. You see, Lowell had been working in the film industry for several years, following his studies in the film program at the University of California, and after a brief stint as a military photographer in the Second World War. After he got back from deployment, Lowell jumped headfirst into the television industry and never looked back. As was the case then, and still is today, working in the film industry often means working in multiple roles depending on the type of work available. As is the case for Lowell, he ended up finding work as a camera operator and a grip, which meant that when he wasn't using cameras, he was often in charge of the lights on set. In 1957, Lowell was hired to set up the lighting for a CBS documentary for filmmaker Stephen Fleishman, though this wasn't a standard studio shoot. The shoot was on location at a historic home property in East Amwell in western New Jersey. Fleishman wanted Lowell to install a system of temporary lights inside the home, hanging primarily from the ceiling. He wanted him to do this so that he and the crew could walk in at the start of filming each day and not have to set anything up. He essentially wanted the studio experience outside of the studio and did not want to spend valuable time getting the crew to pack up the lights every day. Moreover, Lowell had to get creative because the house wasn't built to be a studio, and thus space was a premium. He would end up figuring out his own mounting solutions essentially on a light-by-light basis. But innovation was in Lowell's nature, and it was on this project that he would come up with his most famous invention: not a light, but tape. Gaff tape is a staple on film sets across the world to this day, and it was invented by Ross Lowell on this project. Gaff tape is a special type of filmmaking adhesive tape that has a few ideal properties for work on set. It's resistant to the heat of lights, it stays in place for a long time, it's very sticky, and most importantly, it can be removed without leaving residue, which is an important feature for film crews once they leave a location. Lowell came up with Gaff tape by combining off-the-shelf duct tape with a specialty tack-like adhesive and a fabric backing, leading to the tape that we all know and love in the film industry today. Apart from that invention, and a few others, the shoot was relatively unremarkable. The CBS documentary would air in 1959, and Lowell would found the Lowell Light Company later that year. His motivation to start the company was simple. He wanted to sell the products he invented and produce a more portable, versatile lighting solution. His goal was clear: to create lights that could be easily transported, set up, and manipulated by any crew member, regardless of speciality. This led to the design of the first Lowell light, which became a quick favorite for its simplicity and effectiveness. Lowell's unique approach wasn't necessarily about reducing weight. He revolutionized the concept of on-location lighting. His first light, the Lowell light, was little more than a metal piece connected to a receptacle for a high-voltage light bulb. Once installed, which meant screwing or otherwise taping the base of the light to a board or surface, you would slip a square metal cover over the bulb to shine the light in your chosen direction. Later models would feature cutouts in this metal frame, allowing you to cut and shape the light into the shapes that you desired. Now, personally speaking, I have seen these lights before, and what I think you should know is that early Lowell lights got really, really hot. Now, to be fair, so did standard studio lights of the time, but part of Lowell's success was due to the fact that his lights featured high-intensity tungsten bulbs, which were a relatively new technology for the time in the filmmaking industry. These bulbs were small and allowed for the lights to also be small. You could even run a few of them on a standard home breaker without the need for a large generator. Now, there were many drawbacks in comparison to modern lights of today, but the big one back then was that the heat intensity of the light would quickly cause it to burn out, especially if the bulbs themselves were touched with bare hands, causing oil from your fingers to get on the glass and create hot spots, which would speed up the burnout. And while this sounds like a complete non-starter for modern studio lights today, they were still better than the alternatives because they were cheap, easy to mount, easy to use, and fast to set up. And because of that, the original Lowell light and its accessories sold in droves, thanks in part due to the rise in popularity of on-location filming. Filmmaking before the 1950s looked very different than we have today. Studio equipment was big and unwieldy, often too big and cumbersome to leave the production house. But in the 60s, more cameras had gone mobile, and the trend was that equipment size would keep shrinking. Documentary teams and news crews were shooting more and more on location, which necessitated the need for smaller lighting packages, meaning that Lowell, with his Lowell light, were set in a pretty good spot to see success in this market. And success he did see. In the 1970s, Lowell developed 3 new halogen lighting packages that would take the industry by storm. These kits were the Toda Light, the Omni Light, and the DP Light kit. The Toda Light was a rectangular metal frame light with built-in barn doors, which was useful in creating a large flood of light onto a scene. Its halogen receptacle was capable of powering lights up to 750 watts, which was bright even for today. The Omni kit, on the other hand, was a focus floodlight created in a smaller footprint. Its circular reflector ensured a spotlight-style beam, and its smaller 500-watt light bulb lasted longer than its predecessors. These lights were often sold in packages of 3 as an all-in-one lighting solution for situations like interviews. They were also offered with a wide variety of accessories and travel solutions, making them ideal for one-man band type scenarios. Finally, the Lowell DP light, which was similar in design to the Omni light, was Lowell's flagship light, capable of pushing 1,000 watts of power. It was offered with interchangeable Fresnel lenses and flag attachments, not to mention it was built to a higher degree of durability, and that made it the obvious choice for production professionals. On top of all that, Lowell lights across every set were very simple to use, a philosophy that Ross Lowell had passed down from his initial inventions. The bulbs of the lights were easily replaceable and sold in bulk, and the lights could be understood by anyone after a brief look at the manual. It's no understatement to say that Lowell lights democratized cinematic lighting for a completely new audience of mobile, on-location filmmakers and photographers. In 1976, Lowell light even got some high praise from a famous cinematographer. John Alcott, a director of photography for Stanley Kubrick, when asked about the type of lighting equipment he used on the 1975 film Barry Lyndon, he answered, "We used mini brutes, and we used a lot of Lowell lights, all the time. I used the Lowell lights in umbrellas for overall fill. I always use the umbrellas. Ever since A Clockwork Orange, I would find that Lowell light has a far greater range of illumination from flood to spot than any other light I know of. In fact, it's the only light of its type that gives you a fantastic spot, if you need it, and an absolute overall flood. Also, when you put a flag in front of most quartz lights, you get a double shadow, but not with the Lowell lights. But then, of course, they were designed by a cameraman." High praise, which sent sales for Lowell over the top. In the 80s and the 90s, Lowell light continued its rampant success. This is just a personal anecdote from me, but I remember the Lowell Omni kit being in every film school I visited back when I went to university. They all had one, and I went to university in the mid-2010s. That's how popular and reliable they were, that schools just kept them around forever. But you could also buy them new. In fact, many of their core fluorescent and tungsten products are still available for purchase new to this day. It seemed like everyone was stocking up on Lowell lights, from Hollywood to micro-budget features. And Ross Lowell, still very much active with the company, was going on press tours talking about the benefits of constant lights, particularly in photography, as he looked to expand his product lines. But as the brand turned the page on the 1990s, a new technology was becoming available that would change the direction of lighting forever. In the late 2000s, the lighting industry underwent a seismic shift, the rapid rise of LED lighting. LEDs offered advantages that traditional incandescent and fluorescent lighting struggled to match, particularly in terms of energy efficiency, heat reduction, color versatility, and compact form factors, a battleground that Lowell had enjoyed victory over for the last 40 years. LED panels could run cooler, draw less power, and offered a wide range of color temperatures, all in a smaller and more adaptable package. It wasn't an immediate takeover, but there were signs that LED could be the next big thing. And as LED took off, Lowell faced a steep challenge. The brand, once celebrated for its portability and innovation, found itself slower to adopt LED technology than the newer players in the space. Filmmakers and production teams embraced LED lighting for its reliability and versatility. Meanwhile, Lowell's focus on classic designs, many still based on tungsten, started to feel outdated by comparison, especially in terms of heat and burnout. In an attempt to stay a market leader, Lowell released a few LED products in the 2010s, but it struggled to compete with brands that specialized exclusively in LED lighting from the start. Companies like Aperture, Light Panels, and Nanlite, which focused on LED innovation, grew increasingly popular. These companies introduced LED panels and fixtures that were not only bright but fully dimmable, color adjustable, and equipped with battery options for even greater portability. Lowell's LED offerings, while solid, lacked the groundbreaking appeal and customization options that newer LED-focused brands offered. The market quickly became saturated with LED lights that offered more features at competitive prices, leading to Lowell's iconic Toda, Omni, and DP lights to fade from the spotlight. In 2009, Lowell was acquired by Tiffin, which was both a strategic move and a move to preserve the legacy of the company. While Lowell continues to produce lighting solutions under Tiffin's brand, its influence has become far more niche, resonating mostly with traditionalists and those nostalgic for its original rugged designs. By the mid-2010s, the brand was largely seen as a legacy player, cherished by enthusiasts, but no longer at the forefront of cinema lighting technology. In a world increasingly dominated by LED technology, Lowell remains an iconic name, though now seen more as a symbol of the golden age of traditional lighting than a modern innovator. You can still buy Lowell lights, from their old-school fluorescent lights to their modern LED offerings, many of which actually look like their older design, giving them almost a retro charm. But in a competitive space where companies fight for the low and mid-range, companies like Aperture that are constantly innovating and sharing new designs are much more dominant in a space where people are looking to stretch their dollar further and further. However, Lowell's brand impact and their legacy, in my opinion, remains undiminished. Their designs paved the way for today's portable lighting setups, and the company's commitment to simplicity and portability continues to inspire LED brands. I still know filmmakers that own a classic Lowell kit, which I think is a testament to the brand's enduring reliability. While Lowell may no longer be dominant in the industry, its influence persists in the principles that have defined the quality of lighting for decades. Lowell's journey from innovation to legacy is a reflection of the broader evolution in cinema technology. Though it may no longer be the go-to brand for today's filmmakers, its foundational impact on how we light scenes remains clear. The LED revolution may have superseded Lowell's traditional lights, but it has not replaced the spirit of craftsmanship and the practicality that Ross Lowell brought to the industry all those decades ago. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed learning a bit about the Lowell light story and the history of cinema lighting, don't forget to subscribe. I appreciate you all very much, and I'll see you in the next video.